Video 17. Creating a WBS for a project. The tool WBS Schedule Pro is used in the implementation example. The objective of this video is to implement a WBS considering all the processes proposed by PMI. Don't forget to give a thumbs up if you like this video and want us to continue with new topics. Subscribe to the channel. All content is free. You can also comment suggesting topics you would like to see on this channel. Thank you. According to PMI, creating a work breakdown structure, WBS, is the process of breaking down project deliverables and project work into smaller, more manageable components. We have some important advantages in creating a WBS that we cannot ignore. One important advantage is that it can improve project management by helping to break down complex projects into smaller, more manageable tasks. This is important because managing parts of the project separately is much more efficient than managing the entire project at once. Another important advantage is that it can lead to better planning, resource allocation, and cost control. But to create a WBS that is truly a project description, there are some guidelines that should be considered. One important guideline is to include 100% of the work required to complete the goal. Another important guideline is to not double count any amount of work. Another important guideline is to focus on results, not actions. And at this point, an important question is how many manageable tasks are needed to complete a project. This is an important question, and the answer is that it depends on the size of the project. A process may take a few hours to complete on a small project, while the same process may require much more hours to complete on a large project. To get a clearer idea of this, let's compare two types of projects. 1. A simple birthday party. And 2. The construction of a hospital building. We have already seen that the PMI lists a significant number of processes that must be carried out during the execution of any project. It is important to emphasize now that, although the processes to be carried out are the same for all types of projects, the time to carry out these processes will depend on the size of the project. Therefore, let's choose the process proposed by the PMI stakeholder identification, apply it to both projects, and try to imagine the amount of work required to carry out this process in both projects. We have already seen that we must include 100% of the work required to achieve the goal. In other words, regardless of whether it is a simple birthday party project or a building construction project, we will have to include all the work required to identify the stakeholders. One of the tasks to be carried out in stakeholder identification is to list the people involved in the project. So, let's list the people involved in both projects and get an estimate of the hours needed to complete the task. Let's first look at the birthday party project. The people involved in a birthday party project would consist of the guests, the party sponsors, the food and beverage vendors, the people responsible for the music, and a few other people. It can be estimated that the task of listing the people involved in a birthday party would take a few hours and would only require a few sheets of paper for proper documentation. Now let's look at the hospital construction project. The project team involved in the construction of a hospital would consist of many stakeholders, as there are multiple areas involved in such projects. For example, we would have architectural designers for the various departments of the hospital, facility designers for the various departments of the hospital, designers of the instrumentation needed for the various departments of the hospital, consultants for the allocation of resources for the various departments of the hospital, suppliers for the various departments of the hospital, and many more people in different areas of interest. All of these people would be important for the hospital to be ready to start its operations. Now let's imagine how many hours it would take and how many documents would be produced to carry out this task. So we can see that although the number of processes is the same for a small project and a large project, the number of hours can vary enormously from one project to another. So the important message here is that you should not be overwhelmed by the number of processes proposed by PMI, as the number of hours required to complete a project will directly depend on the size of the project. The execution of PMI processes can vary significantly between small and large projects due to differences in complexity, scope, resources, and stakeholder involvement. Here are the key differences. 1. Scope and complexity. Considering a small project, the scope is typically well defined and limited. Processes are often simplified, and documentation may be less formal. Now, considering a large project, the scope is broader and more complex, requiring detailed planning, extensive documentation, and rigorous change control processes. 2. Resource allocation. Considering a small project, resources are limited, and team members may wear multiple hats. Resource management is straightforward. Now, considering a large project, resource allocation is more complex, involving multiple teams, departments, and possibly external vendors. Resource leveling and optimization are critical. 3. Stakeholder engagement. Considering a small project, fewer stakeholders are involved, making communication and stakeholder management simpler. Now, considering a large project, numerous stakeholders with varying interests require a structured stakeholder management plan and regular communication strategies. 4. Risk management. Considering a small project, risk management may be informal, with fewer risks identified and managed. Now, considering a large project, a comprehensive risk management plan is essential, with regular risk assessments, mitigation strategies, and contingency planning. 5. Communication management. Considering a small project, communication is often informal and direct, with fewer communication channels. Now, considering a large project, a formal communication plan is necessary, detailing communication channels, frequency, and methods to ensure all stakeholders are informed. 6. Documentation. Considering a small project, documentation is minimal and often informal, focusing on essential deliverables and milestones. Now, considering a large project, extensive documentation is required, including detailed project plans, schedules, budgets, and reports to ensure accountability and traceability. 7. Monitoring and controlling. Considering a small project, monitoring and controlling processes are simpler, with fewer metrics and less frequent reporting. Now, considering a large project, continuous monitoring and controlling are critical, with regular performance reviews, detailed progress reports, and stringent quality control measures. 8. Integration management. Considering a small project, integration management is straightforward, with fewer processes and deliverables to coordinate. Now, considering a large project, integration management is complex, requiring coordination across multiple processes, teams, and deliverables to ensure alignment with project objectives. 9. Procurement management. Considering a small project, procurement is minimal or non-existent, with fewer contracts and suppliers to manage. Now, considering a large project, procurement management is critical, involving multiple contracts, suppliers, and procurement processes to ensure timely delivery of goods and services. 10. Time management. Considering a small project, scheduling is simpler, with fewer tasks and dependencies to manage. Now, considering a large project, detailed scheduling is essential, with complex task dependencies, critical path analysis, and regular schedule updates. 11. Cost management. Considering a small project, budgeting and cost control are simpler, with fewer cost categories and less financial complexity. Now, considering a large project, comprehensive cost management is required, including detailed budgeting, cost tracking, and financial reporting to ensure the project stays within budget. 12. Quality management. Considering a small project, quality management may be informal, with fewer quality standards and checks. Now, considering a large project, a formal quality management plan is necessary, with defined quality standards, regular quality audits, and continuous improvement processes. 13. Human resource management. Considering a small project, team management is straightforward, with fewer team members and simpler roles and responsibilities. Now, considering a large project, complex team structures require detailed role definitions, team development plans, and conflict resolution strategies. 14. Change management. Considering a small project, change management is simpler, with fewer changes and a more flexible approach. Now, considering a large project, a formal change management process is essential, with a change control board, detailed change requests, and impact analysis. 15. Closure. Considering a small project, project closure is simpler, with fewer deliverables and less formal handover processes. Now, considering a large project, formal project closure processes are required, including final deliverables, documentation, lessons learned, and formal handover to operations. In summary, while the core PMBOK processes remain the same, their application and complexity vary greatly between small and large projects. Small projects benefit from streamlined and flexible processes, while large projects require detailed, structured, and rigorous processes to manage complexity and ensure success. With all these considerations, we conclude our presentation. I hope this video has provided the necessary clarification on the topic of WBS creation. See you in the next videos. More videos coming soon. 1. Creation of the WBS for a project considering all PMI processes. 2. Project life cycles. Here we will talk about predictive, iterative, incremental, adaptive, hybrid. 3. Examples using WBS Schedule Pro. 4. Examples of project plans using MS Project, and many more videos. Don't forget to give a thumbs up if you liked this video and want us to continue with new topics. Subscribe to the channel. All content is free. You can also comment suggesting topics you would like to see on this channel. Thank you.